Yo, what is up guys? This is Troy D from the Troy D 24/7 Mall channel, your source for on point and no hype reviews. We are back again, everybody. We're back with another fragrance review right here, guys, on my lovely day off. Finally, I got one. And today I will be talking about the latest fragrance coming out of Creed, guys, releasing this month. We got it early, guys, and this is an Oud fragrance. Yes, we've heard about this months ago, and I can't wait to give you guys my results, my breakdown of this new Creed fragrance right here. Let's go. Now, before I continue, please do not forget to like and subscribe, guys, okay? Liking, subscribing, and watching the ads is a great big deal to this channel as we head towards 27K. We just hit 26,000 subscribers, so thank you, everybody. Please continue to support, guys. Deep dive into my over 800 no hype videos. Shop from our affiliates and friends of the channel, like my homie Bernie right here. Thank you so much for all your support. And the fragrance that we'll be talking about today is none other than the latest Creed fragrance coming out this month. Pre-orders begin, I believe, August 19. This is none other than Creed Oud Zarian. Yes, Creed Oud Zarian. Now, this official sample right here, not sure if you guys can read that. It's really small fine print right here. This sample right here came from one of our friends of the channel, Bernie, who is from Nordstrom. He's in charge of the Creed boutique out there, as well as other fragrances, other niche fragrances, designer fragrances from Nordstrom. He's the man to talk to if you would like to pre-order this fragrance right here, and he is very generous with all the samples across the different many brands in Nordstrom. So I want to thank you, Bernie, for sharing the enthusiasm and sending it over to me for me to review. Okay, so what is up with this fragrance right here, Oud Zarian? Obviously, Oud is going to be the centerpiece of this fragrance, and Zarian in Persian means gold or golden. And Creed has been flaunting this golden nectar, this golden ingredient, as an 80-year aged oud, okay? That this oud has been aged for 80 damn years. That's basically double my age right there. Now, this oud is called Jalali Oud. First time I've ever heard that, so I'm not gonna speak about it like I'm some expert, like I know. But apparently this Jalali Oud has a very specific smell, that the smell itself of Jalali Oud is moving away from animalic, but is moving towards ambery, leathery, and vanillic properties. That this type of oud is more on the amber, leather, vanillic side. So that is quite interesting indeed. I wondered, you know, when I got this, would it actually be a lot more oriental? Would it be more Middle Eastern or what? But from what I know, like really smelling all these new Creeds that are coming out, that they do consider nowadays the consumer. And so the fact that this Jalali Oud is moving towards amber, leather, vanillic told me that, you know what, Creed still thinks about their customers, because they don't want it to be too oriental or too crazy, too foreign to the nose of a lot of people. Anyways, I can't wait to break this down for y'all because I fully tried it. This juice is almost over. Let's go spray this thing right now. Sprayer isn't really that strong, but hey. Okay guys, now let's talk about this fragrance right here, the latest Oud fragrance coming out of Creed for this month, Oud Zarian. Starting with this lovely opening, and obviously you're gonna get the early appearance of Jalali Oud. It does come out in a very small amount here in the opening, guys, but this opening does have bergamot, it does have ginger, it has a spice accord, as well as frankincense. All right, so you also have the early appearance of that Jalali Oud. Now, this opening right here, once I smelled it, guys, I was like, oh yeah, fall, winter, can't wait to wear this thing, because most of the notes of this fragrance definitely is suited for the fall winter season, the cold season. Now obviously the bergamot is going to be an embedded type of bergamot, but what really shines right here is going to be your dry ginger, your spices, your smoky frankincense, and of course that amber, leathery, vanillic Jalali Oud coming out early, guys. Now, what did it smell like to me? All right, to me, it had some sort of honeyed maple smell, some sort of a sweet honeyed maple smell come out here. That was like my first impression. But then immediately you had dried ginger and spices really take over this fragrance, giving it, I would say, like a gentlemanly balancer. The fact that you have dried ginger and spices balance it out. And some people would say that it's like a very dry ginger. But to me, yeah, that's basically what happened. Now, nobody knows what these spices are, but to me, the spices that I really detect are going to be Sichuan pepper, which is a fiery type of pepper that we've seen in other fragrances. They have been actually using this note maybe for the past year or so, more on other fragrances that are coming out, as well as some mild sweet saffron. Okay, and so that is why I had this kind of like this like burned maple type of smell. Some people are saying honeyed, but it is a sweet type of smell, but of course balanced with dried ginger and spices. Now, frankincense comes up early. It is a mid note here in this fragrance, and the frankincense is of course smoky, aromatic, and also blends in, I would say, another balancer to this sweetness that you get in the intro. And definitely I will say that this is not a sickly sweet intro, but it is going to be the point of contention, because the other stages of Oud Zarian are, I don't know, they're just very likable, normal type of stages, but this is the standout one. Having some kind of like maple-like sweetness in the intro, but of course balanced with dried ginger, spices, and smokiness, which I believe Creed did successfully. Okay, so it's very balanced. It's definitely gentlemanly, but there is that sweetness here in the intro of Oud Zarian. This intro definitely, to me, was made or tailor-made for the mainstream crowd to kind of bridge into appreciating oud. Okay, when I heard about this 80-year oud, I mean, I had like flashbacks of Arij Ledore, when Arij Ledore would talk about all these exotic ouds that he was getting from wherever. But this one right here definitely doesn't scream anything animalic, guys, or anything like poopy. Okay, it's got none of that. And so that's when I knew. I was like, you know what, if this Jalali Oud was ambery, leathery, vanillic, then definitely it's tailor-made for the mainstream crowd, basically, to like this fragrance. And so with that being said, there's zero animalic, zero poopy here in this fragrance. And matter of fact, there's no oud punch, there's no cypriol, there's none of that. I mean, the name is Oud Zarian, but definitely it's ambery, leathery, and vanillic, like I said. And definitely this sweetness is very well balanced here with Sichuan pepper, saffron. It's balanced with a lot of dried ginger and frankincense. So it is a lovable, I would say, mainstream oud type of intro for the gentleman. Okay, so definitely when I smelled this, I mean, I felt like it was gonna be a very nice, comforting type of fall winter perfume, because there was that blanket of comfort that I got, but definitely very mainstream tailored in my opinion. Okay, now let's talk about initial sillage and projection of Oud Zarian. Now obviously, as y'all could see, the sprayer of this was pretty weak, but I did spray a nice amount of Oud Zarian on me, and I would say that this right here is a lingering draw-in scent. More for comfort, more for the spicy draw-in nature, the dried ginger, for the wearer and the people around you. So I would say that this is not a nuclear, room-conquering type of oud fragrance, but rather a lingering one and a more reserved one, I would say, for the masculine wearer. So this is a really nice sillage and projection. Can't complain. There's no overdoses here, and there's no oud punch, which I really like. I like this right here. Okay, now let's talk about the mid of Oud Zarian. Right here on the mid, the listed notes are frankincense and centifolia rose. Now, this centifolia rose, guys, is a type of rose that's actually like a standout rose. It is not a deep, dark rose that you see in other rose oud fragrances, but rather a type of rose that pops out because of its slightly fruity and fresh type of nature. Okay, now, while I was wearing this fragrance, the centifolia rose starts blooming out within like maybe 30 minutes of wearing Oud Zarian. But as it does that, one thing I will say is that it never escapes the initial blend, the initial intro that has spices, ginger, frankincense. It never fully escapes that, but because the rose itself is kind of like fruity, it's got this like lychee type of smell, and it is kind of fresh, that it is, it does pop out. That's the smell that I get. There's a popping out of this centifolia rose through all those other, blanketing, ambery and sweet and spicy type of notes. You will get that within 30 minutes of wearing this fragrance. Now, will you ever get this centifolia rose come out on its own? Answer is no. Okay, although it will pop out, it will be a spotlight for maybe a few minutes. Don't forget that you still have frankincense and you still have a lot of the base notes basically sandwich this centifolia rose. So here's the thing, some people, some reviewers are considering this fragrance a rose oud fragrance. Now, what I really like about this fragrance, although it has rose, is that I do not consider this really a rose oud. It's not redundant to other rose ouds out there. And if you love collecting all these glorious rose ouds like Dasman and Nemer and other, rose ouds out there, you know that, this corner of niche perfumery is somewhat already saturated with a lot of these rose ouds. The fact that you're not going to get an animalic, strong cypriol punch like oud, and that you're getting a blended in rose with incense and other notes, spices and what have you, doesn't make this redundant to other rose ouds that are out. Okay, so that is what I like. I would say that this, first and foremost, is still going to be woody, aromatic, and spicy more than the rose type of nature that is out there. So I like this mid as well. Very well blended, nice centifolia rose, but again, still sandwiched with these other really nice woody aromatic notes. Okay, and finally, let's talk about the dry down right here of Creed Oud Zarian. Now, this dry down right here starts early because, like I said, the base notes do blend in with that centifolia rose. 5 hours into this fragrance, most dry downs start at 6. This one starts at 5, okay? Because there's a ton of notes here in the dry down that do blend in, and they are quite potent. Obviously, the oud is still going to be there. This Jalali Oud is still going to be there. But really, what is prominent here in the dry down, the notes are going to be your licorice, it's going to be your patchouli, as well as your myrrh. Okay, these are the big three for me. And you've got licorice that has this anise type zing. It kind of mirrors the zing of the ginger in the beginning part of this fragrance. So you still have that gentlemanly zing provided by that licorice, guys. Okay, and of course you have patchouli, dark woods right here. This is kind of like standard as you go into the darker stage of this fragrance with some patchouli right here. And of course, myrrh. Myrrh here is going to be your oriental note. I guess that they call that oriental, but to me it's more of like your Middle Eastern or mystical type of note. The myrrh here is going to be at this dry down, of course. Now, the myrrh for me is the one that, kind of like, if you're thinking about oud as somewhat of a golden, mystical type of note, oud fragrances are very beautiful like that. The myrrh actually gives you that identity because, like I said, the oud does not give you animalic properties or anything really foreign. Okay, it's very ambery, leathery, vanillic, like I said. So the one that they use right here to give you that is going to be the myrrh. And of course, you got the zing of licorice, you got dark woods right here with the patchouli. And it is a nice transition towards this ending. Again, another masculine, gentlemanly balancer to really balance all that stuff. Now, on the latter dry down, you're going to get sandalwood, you're going to get tonka bean, and a lot of that sweetness from the oud actually develops more. I got to smell more of the vanillic side, the vanilla side of this oud on the farther side of the dry down, of course, with some tonka bean and sandalwood. So I would say the latter part of the dry down, past maybe like 7 to 8 hours. Does smell sweet, smooth, vanillic, woody, and that is what it is towards the end. But on its way to that, it's going to be myrrh, it's going to be licorice, it's going to be patchouli. Very, very dark, gentlemanly towards the end of Oud Zarian. Okay, and with that being said, what do I think of this fragrance right here, Creed Oud Zarian? First and foremost, in my opinion, it's tailor-made for an audience that is, you know, trying to play safe, but at the same time is starting to reach out to more oriental fragrances, more oriental notes like oud, frankincense, and myrrh. Okay, and if you are that person, I think that this is a great like oud scent to own. Also, primarily because, you know, it's not really oriental. It doesn't have the oud punch. It doesn't have animalic, poopy smells, what have you. This is more of a nice woody aromatic scent. It has, you know, spices, ginger, Sichuan pepper. It has woods. It has licorice, you know. A lot of really nice gentlemanly properties that they have in fragrances, and the oud itself is ambery, leathery, and vanillic. So yeah, I think that, you know, Creed, this new Creed right here is, you know, really mindful of their audience, and they're not going to risk making an oud fragrance that maybe, you know, people are going to start moving away from because they feel it's going to be offensive or too strong for other people. This is definitely a gentlemanly type oud that is for those, like I said, bridging out. Now, if you are an oud lover already, you might like this. Is there a redundancy? Yes, there's one fragrance out there that kinda smells like this, and this is Amouage Outlands. I did review that extensively. I liked that scent as well. Yeah, you could say that this is kind of like an Amouage type of fragrance as well. They have a lot of similar notes: Sichuan pepper, saffron, oud, frankincense, and myrrh. So try that out. I don't know if you want to try Outlands and this and compare it. For some of y'all that are saying like which is better, I feel like this is more mainstream because of that, you know, initial like sweet type smell that continues on until the end with a bunch of balancers. But definitely there are some similarities between this and Amouage Outlands. But like I said, this one right here, I mean, on its own is a nice mainstream, maybe mainstream to bridging out type of customer when it comes to oud scents right here. And usage wise, to me, this is a fall winter grabber. All right, I know that it could be an upscale grabber as well, but because this is so usable with the woody aromatic properties, yes, there's some rose right here, but the woody aromatic properties with some sweetness and some smoke is very comforting for the cold weather, guys, okay? And I believe that this can be a very masculine one. For those that like ultra masculine perfumes, there's enough balancers to balance out that sweetness, trust me, from the saffron, from the oud itself. There's a lot of balancers in this fragrance to make this a very masculine fragrance. So I would say fall winter grabber. Wouldn't be surprised if a lot of y'all got to use this a lot in very cold weather because, again, very, very comforting indeed. Okay, now let's talk about total performance of this fragrance right here. This fragrance easily gets up to 12 hours and more. Just know that this is not made as a nuclear oud fragrance, that this is a nice aromatic, lingering fragrance that does continue on for 12 hours and beyond. Okay, obviously high quality notes right here and really, really nice and comforting for the wearer. Okay, and finally, let's look at the pricing of Creed's Oud Zarian as well as the full bottle worthiness of this fragrance. Is this a full bottle worthy fragrance? First and foremost, let's look at the pricing. $430 for a 50 ml. $630 for 100 ml. And again, you can pre-order this thing via Bernie. I will leave his details below. I mean, really, get in there fast because in my opinion, it is a full bottle worthy fall winter fragrance. I told you guys that to me, this is gonna be a grabber. This is a fragrance that is in between mainstream and for those, you know, standard oud lovers that don't really care if the oud fragrance is mainstream lovable or not. It's right in between. So I think it's really nice, woody, aromatic, slightly sweet, smoky, perfect for the fall winter season. Like I said, there's some collectability out here with their little box that has like an 80-year thing. I don't know if they're really selling that or if that's just a display. But you know what I like about it, like I said, it's not gonna be one of those like collectible fragrances which, you know, you get to just, you know, put out there and say, oh, this is a $600 fragrance and I barely wear it, I reserve it for special occasions. This is not it. Very gentlemanly, like I said, woody, aromatic, slightly sweet, smoky. You can wear this, guys, normally. Okay, so with that being said, that makes this a full bottle worthy fragrance in my opinion. And that is it. That is my no hype review on the latest fragrance from Creed, Oud Zarian. Again, pre-orders start already. Hit up Bernie, my Nordstrom guy, my Creed guy, for pre-orders or samples, or if you want to order anything from Nordstrom, hit up my boy Bernie, who really went out of his way to send this sample early to us. So thank you, Bernie, and thank you for watching. We hit 26K. Can't wait to go to 27K. Seems like it's going to be fast from here. And I've got a lot of other crazy fragrances to talk about that I am currently testing. So hang on. Please do not forget to like and subscribe. I will see you guys on the next video. God bless. Take care. Peace.